and welcome to another episode of the Jump Music Initiative podcast. And today we have with us a special guest, Henri Cash from Starcrawler. Welcome, Henri.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. So the first thing I want to ask you, Henri, is how did you get started in music? And what are you currently working on, or what is your role in the industry as of now?
I started my family, everybody played music. Music was always around me when I was really little, like all my uncles and parents, friends, and everybody related to me played music. So it just seemed like something that people did. Right now I play in a band called Starcrawler. We're in our studio right now. Everybody left to go get some food, and I'm still here on this call, but that's pretty much it. I don't know.
So what was the first instrument that you played?
So my dad played guitar, so at first I wanted to play guitar, but then I didn't want to play guitar because my dad played guitar. You know, there was that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I knew a couple of chords. He taught me like a D chord, an E chord, and an A chord. And so I guess that's the first technical instrument I learned to play. But then I only knew like 3 chords and didn't really do anything with it. Mm-hmm. And then I started kindergarten and signed up for violin. And I did violin up until 2nd grade when I was able to do brass instruments. And then I did euphonium and started picking up more guitar, played drums. An uncle passed down a drum set to me, started playing drums, and that was my thing. And then ended up playing bass in a band with some people just because they needed a bass player. And then kind of moved back to guitar because our singer, Arrow, I went to high school with her, and she walked up to me and asked me if I played guitar, and I said yes, because I kind of did, but I didn't call myself a guitar player.
Oh, wow. Oh, and she didn't know you played guitar before?
No, we never met. She came up to me because I wore cool shirts. Said you look cool. I was holding a tuba case. I played euphonium when I was younger, up until I was big enough to play tuba, because I couldn't carry it. But even now, a tuba is like half the size of me, but it's like a pain to carry around. But yeah.
Awesome. So you still play tuba? And yeah. And then do you also still play violin? Did you keep that up?
No, I wish I did. I'm terrible at violin now, but I kept playing tuba all through high school, and euphonium is pretty much the same thing, just smaller and a higher register. So, but yeah.
And have you put it on any records?
Yeah, we put it on the last record I got to play on, and then I played it on a couple friends' records. I threw some tuba on, but yeah, on the last song on our last record, it ends with tuba and a choir of Girl Scouts. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. This is living proof that the instrument you choose for band class in school can also carry forward.
Yeah.
Into, very cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to ask a bit more about defining a sound. So can you tell us a little bit about why a musical identity might be important, and how can young artists go about finding their own unique sound? And should they try and emulate other players or do this thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I feel like everybody, when they start playing, wants to play other people's songs, and that's just natural. And I was learning Ramones songs and AC/DC songs, and then I heard of the White Stripes, and my dad would put a bunch of CDs in my room and I would listen to them before I went to bed, but they were very spaced out. There was like a Louis Armstrong CD, and the Ramones, the MC5, and the White Stripes, Son House, ZZ Top. There was a bunch, and like 2 AC/DC CDs. And I guess how it started was because songs would come on the radio and I would ask to hear them again. And they had to explain that I was too young to understand that wasn't possible. And so they started getting me CDs. You have to pick out CDs at the record store. But I feel like if you start learning songs and playing songs, you begin to start playing everything in your own way. I mean, I don't know. I find I never tried to have a style or anything, but I feel like I might have in my sloppiness that might be a style, you know? I
Awesome.
don't know.
And so when you joined Starcrawler, it wasn't sort of defined yet. Do you think you helped define the sound of the band and how important it is?
There were no sounds. It wasn't Starcrawler yet. It was Arrow was jamming with a friend, and it was her and a drummer, and they were just talking. And it was hard. We went to an art school, but it was still hard to find people that liked the similar types of music that you did. So at first it was just talking, and then when I was in middle school, I figured out how to use GarageBand. A couple of high schoolers came over and we jammed one time, and they taught me how to use GarageBand, and then I started recording my own songs that were like, I guess, like garage rocky, and then I'd make like little iPhone videos or iPad videos with like an app. And so I had some songs already, and so I tried to teach the drummer the song, and like it was like okay. And then we said, well, what do we all know? And we knew some Ramones songs and Runaway songs, and then we played that. And then me and Arrow sat down, and then we started. I brought a couple things, and then we started writing lyrics for it, and that's kind of how it all started.
Awesome. And was there any specific point where everything kind of changed for you guys? Was there something that happened that set you on a different path or kind of led you to where you are now?
Yeah, well, it happens. I was really determined to drop out of school. That was my goal. I was so miserable being in a 8-hour class, eight-hour classes, that my goal was to get so good at my instrument that I could drop out of school. And every day, me and Arrow, her grandmother would drive us to rehearse after school, and we would do it every day. We were really determined, and we'd keep talking about, well, if we rehearse and we get super good, we can, tour, and then we don't have to come to school anymore if we're doing really good, and then maybe we'll get shows and stuff. And as weird as that sounds, and kids stay in school, but that's what really made me super determined to like get super tight as a band. And we just tried to get every show we could. And then once we recorded our first album just live in the room with no overdubs. And once that was out there, once it was out there, that's pretty much just what we did. Yeah.
Wild. Really cool story you guys have. So tell us a little bit, you're a multi-instrumentalist. Tell us kind of what instruments you're playing on the album. Are you also producing on your album or producing some tracks for other stuff?
I work with some other people sometimes, but we work with producers because I always feel like you need somebody to check you on stuff. I feel like it's good to have another person's ear so that you just don't become, I don't know, self-obsessed or something, but it's also good to just have another person's point of view. Mm-hmm. But I play guitar on the stuff. We have a bass player who's really good. And for a lot of the first record and second record, I would write the bass parts. How the songs would start is I would do demos at home and play all the instruments on the demo and then bring them, and everybody would learn the parts, and then me and Arrow would write the vocals to it. Mm-hmm. But now for this record that we're working on right now, it's much more open between me and the bass player is bringing some songs and we're working on them, and me and the bass player and the vocalists are more just working collaborative on this one, which is really cool.
Very cool. Do you like having the additional ideas? And
oh yeah, I love it. When you're lucky enough to play with really good musicians, everybody, it's like that style thing. I come up with certain things, and then I'll hear something our bass player Tim comes up with, and it's something that I would have never came up with. it's just like a different vibe because of the stuff that he grew up listening to. He's going to go to a different, he suggests going to a different chord or something, and it works really well. And it's cool. That's the great thing about collaborating, is you get to bring your music to places that you couldn't go alone.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you guys have done a lot of shows, you've toured a lot, and this podcast is geared towards young artists. So can you tell me about a time where maybe something went wrong on stage or something happened that you weren't prepared for? And how do you go about dealing with a situation like that?
Well, things always go wrong, so you just have to be prepared. I mean, so many things have gone wrong. I mean, being a young musician especially, there's a lot of things that you have to put up with, like I've had to wait outside in the snow kind of thing. If you're playing rock music as a kid, the majority of venues that host that kind of thing are 21 plus. And if you're a kid playing a bar, you need to play and then get out and play and get out. You can't be hanging out inside. It doesn't matter what kind of weather is outside. Doesn't matter, how big your band is or whatever. So you just have to deal with certain things and tough through it. Gear goes down. You break strings, bring an extra guitar, come prepared, test out your gear before, rehearse. But things will always go wrong. And I guess it's just about not letting what goes wrong affect your mind state. Because once you're in the mode of everything's going wrong, it just gets worse. But if you let it flow and take it with a grain of salt, you can work through it better.
Totally. And can you tell us about something crazy that's happened to you while you were on stage?
Oh my God.
Some crazy stories.
Yeah, I have one that sounds really crazy, but this one night, depending on, you might not believe me, but there was this one venue we played where I saw a ghost while we were on stage, and all my equipment went down, and all the lights on my pedal board started flashing in a row, and it was really, it was not possible to happen. It wasn't something that could have happened, but it happened, and I was freaking out. It threw me off my game because I was freaked out, and I didn't know if anybody else saw it, but and then after the show, the sound guy said, "Hey, I saw something. I saw you were kind of wigged out. What happened?" And asked me, and he said that the venue was actually haunted, and they have all that. Yeah, that's kind of stuff happen all the time, and
Wow.
the owner told me his stories, and it's kind of crazy, but
Whoa. All right. That's pretty trippy.
Yeah, you don't have, if you don't believe in ghosts, you don't have to believe me, but I have no reason to lie.
Mm-hmm. Wild. I think that was a very unexpected situation.
Yeah, it was in Kansas City.
Completely different. Creepy, weird. Okay, so ghosts aside from your live show, what kinds of inspirations do you guys have? Actually, tell us a little bit about what your live show looks like and what the inspirations are for it and how you kind of execute it and bring it to life.
Well, when we first started playing, we just wanted people to remember the shows. So that was our early ideas, I guess, was to just make everybody remember it, if it was a good memory or a bad memory. This is Arrow, by the way, and Tim.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
But how would you describe our live show? How we went at it? Oh my
God, you're not.
But so yeah, we wanted people to remember it, and that's pretty much how we went about it, and just energetic, and we didn't just stand there and stare at the floor kind of thing. But we liked rock music, and that's what rock music kind of has always done in the past, so we just followed by example.
Absolutely. So Henri, a lot of people sent in questions from Instagram, some of your fans, and I'd like to just fire a few of those at you real quick, just do a rapid fire thing if you're cool. So, okay, question from Bob Gnarly. Best advice for learning an instrument?
Just patience and keep doing it. Don't let yourself bring you down. And sometimes it's frustrating when you can't get something, but maybe put it down and come back to it the next day. I guess if you practice right before you go to bed and right when you wake up, something about your brain picks it up more, I've found out. So that's the cool thing. I don't know what the science is behind that, but I think there is something. But
Awesome. Okay, next question. Favorite Stooges riff?
riff?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, like the opening lick to Now I Want to Be Your Dog. Do you know it? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like there's the walk down and then, yeah, I think that's it.
Sweet.
Totally. Okay, next one. How do you know you've made it, and do you feel like you have?
No, I feel like I'm very lucky to get to do what I do and got to play with so many really amazing musicians. But I feel like it's not about making it or whatever that is, and I don't feel like I've made it, or I'm just playing music and with people that I like playing with and really talented people, and I'm just super lucky to get to do that. And the fact that other people enjoy listening to it still is crazy to me, but I'm super lucky, you know.
A lot of people, Henry, wanted to know if you guys have an album coming out in 2021. Is this true?
Well, we're working on an album right now. It should be out. Is it 2021 yet?
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be out sometime this year, if not early next year.
Exciting.
But,
and then
we're working every day.
The last question, kind of silly, but what are your top 3 favorite candies? Someone really wants to know.
So I go through candy phases because I get dried out on certain candies. But I really like Gushers. Do they have Gushers in Canada?
When I was a kid, they certainly did. I don't know if they still have them, but yeah.
In Canada, they have all the British candies.
We do have one.
They have the Haribo or Haribo. I forget how it's pronounced, but they have the egg ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
They have
the gummy ones.
They don't have those here. They just have those in Canada and then in the UK. But I used to be super obsessed with those. Our go-to like writer candy, where I think it's pretty much everywhere, is the Sour Patch Kids, the watermelon ones.
Really?
You get a lot. But I like peach rings. Peach rings a lot. I go through different cravings, but I like them all. Nerds. You guys like nerds?
Really? Nerds?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not like an everyday thing. It's, you get a crave, you wake up and you're like, I want some nerds. But yeah.
Okay. That one's wild. I mean, I get all the gummy ones, but
you don't like the nerds?
No.
Nerds remind me of Halloween and being a kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I haven't had nerds in about a year, I'd say. But I miss them.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hope people send you candy in the mail. I don't know if no one has your address, but wouldn't that be awesome?
My friend just sent me candy today.
What?
Yeah, she sent me candy and cupcakes. It's like cupcake candy. And I didn't know. And it was a delivery from like Indiana or something. And she overnighted it. And I had no idea. And I get this big box of sugar.
That's awesome. Henry, yeah. I kind of want to know. So me and Lisa wanted to talk a little bit about this year, the pandemic. How has this impacted your art? And is there anything you've learned about yourself or discovered in art during this time? Or how has it changed how you work?
Yeah. Well, we've sort of had a lot of time to figure everything out because we weren't home for a long time. we were constantly on tour from when I was 15. And so I've never got time to be at home since I've turned 20. And you learn a lot. Like, I couldn't be alone for a second. Like, I was having a really hard time not doing anything and just sitting down. Because I was used to always doing something. Like, we do sound check at this time, and when everything just stops, it's kind of crazy. And so we worked on finding places like this where we come to every day, and we rehearse, and you work out things like that. I mean, I just figured out a lot, that I liked recording every day. We took a break from playing shows for a long time. Then we played a live stream, and I didn't realize how much work it took to physically do that. You know, you don't do it for a long time, and those muscles aren't used, and it starts to hurt. So kind of crazy. So we started being super active. Me and the bass player we go on bike rides every day, and we go hiking and everything, trying to stay active and positive. But yeah, it's a weird time. I know a lot of people are going through super dry spells right now because nothing's happening. They have nothing to write about. We've been lucky because we've been together. At first we were isolating together for a bit. Even now I see everybody, but first of all, we're all vaccinated and we don't see anybody else but each other. This is like, I see 5 people and that's it. I come to the studio and then I go home, and it's a good routine, but I guess you find your pot of people. I don't know. It's a weird time. I don't think anybody's really figured it out, but it was really scary at first. I was really sick right when everything shut down. We came home from tour and I was super sick for like 2 weeks, and I have really bad asthma and I needed to go on a special inhaler, and it was pretty scary because of, you know, what the media was talking about. And I just, you know, you kind of think like, maybe I'm gonna die or something. But yeah, but we're all fine, so it's good.
Okay, yeah, you made it through. Yikes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But
what do you miss about touring?
I miss there's like an adrenaline rush from doing it. And it's just like my favorite thing to do is to play music and experience that with other people. Play the songs that I love. Driving, I really like being in the car and just looking at scenery. So I guess that too. There's a lot of things. And then for a while, when we weren't seeing each other yet, I missed the band, you know, hanging out with your friends. But because it's a family for sure. When you're hanging out with these people for years on end. I'm also super dyslexic, which I think makes me better at instruments because I know how to talk through instruments, not normally.
Oh, this is an interesting theory. Tell us more about your theory about this.
So it's just not a theory, it's just an excuse. But yeah, I'm trying.
So Henri, are there some super difficult aspects about touring as well? Like what's challenging about it for you, and how do you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, when you first start touring, you have to go through some terrible experiences because you're just sitting all next to each other. You don't have money, you're not getting paid, you're sleeping in terrible places. You're going night after night, your body's exhausted, and you just have to power through it. But are you guys musicians?
Yes.
Yeah, we both are.
College educated musicians, or some kind of school?
Yeah, I am.
What did you take?
So my main instrument's bass guitar. So
right.
I studied in jazz.
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
In high school, I tried to get into a high school originally for jazz drums, but I showed up and everybody was so good. And so I just panicked and just like couldn't play. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you come from like a that, like, I came from a schooled background, and then you go out there and there's no formula. You just kind of sort of figure out your own thing. It's different every night. The sound sucks most of the time when you're starting out because you're not playing in great venues. It's a lot of just having to power through a lot of bad times until you get to when it's super easy, and I mean, we've had it happen on a couple tours where, you just show up and everything's already set up. And that's the best feeling ever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is not a thing that happens every time. So I'm super grateful for when it does happen, but that is the best feeling I've ever had, is to show up and everything's already there. I don't have to carry anything, and all I have to do is play.
Awesome. Yeah. And Henri, we started this new segment on the podcast called Desert Island Albums, or I guess we could say isolation albums, but what the albums or pieces of work would you take with you if you were on a desert island, or would you keep with you during COVID?
Well, I'm always listening to different things and getting into different records. So for right now, what I've been getting really into is Gillian Welch. It's been a new thing. Forget what the record's called, but it's Blue. I don't know if you guys know her well, but it's the Blue record with that song about Ohio. But I've been listening to that record a lot. And forgetting who else. Townes Van Zandt I got into. And then actually over like the past 2 weeks, I'd never listened to Phoebe Bridgers. And I started digging into Phoebe Bridgers, and I'm amazed. She's so good. Such an amazing songwriter. I'm so jealous.
And the last thing I wanted to say, Henri, ask you was, if you could leave off one piece of advice, or it doesn't have to be one, but something you would say to the next generation of musicians or young artists who are just starting out, what would you tell them?
Say, keep working. I feel like if you never, just keep working hard and never stop. And if you stop and you feel like you've accomplished something and you get conceited and you have an ego, you're just going to stop working and you're going to lose your flow. So just keep working as if play every show as if it's the last show you can play. And if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. I play because I have fun. I wouldn't want to do anything else. It's crazy that this is a living. I mean, it's not a great living. That's another thing. Don't assume that it's going to be pay everything off. I have to do other things to make this work. So that is a thing that people assume that like once you get to a certain point, you're good. Once you get like a record on a label, or you sign to a record deal, you have money, you can, quit your job and everything. And that's not really true. But as long as you're working hard, you can always find a way. But just keep working. Be desperate to play different things. I never feel like a good guitar player. I always feel like I could get better. I think that's cool. Always wanting to get better at your instrument, different instruments. I try to learn something every day, like on YouTube or something, whether it's a different genre of music that I'm not used to playing or something like that. But I don't know.
Great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
What before we take off, what's the thing that you learned on YouTube today or yesterday?
YouTube. I'm getting into finger picking. So like doing like Travis picking. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
And there's like different things, and that's the same thing, like, okay, do it and then come back to it the next day. Kind of thing. And you get used to it. Yeah. Travis picking.
Travis picking. I love it. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that works.
Absolutely.
I always feel like I'm rambling. But
I really enjoyed what you had to say. I think you shared a lot of really good stuff, and a lot of the demographic, mostly for this, is it's targeted at emerging artists and young artists. And I think you had really important things to say. So thanks for sharing your advice and your story.
All right. Well, thanks. I see we have similar backdrops going down. You have the all black backdrop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a black leather wall.
Whoa.
Like, instead of wallpaper, we put up with leather on the wall.
I wonder if that soundproofs it all. Does it like affect
I don't think it's
sounds?
I don't think it's super absorbent, not as much as like foam would be, but definitely more absorbent than just drywall. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that anything that soaks up water soaks up sound. So,
yes. I think this might
could be completely wrong, but yeah. Could have been fucking with me, but yeah.
I think you should develop your dyslexia, making you a good instrumentalist, and telling your stories through song. I think you should develop that as a theory. It's very interesting, or at least like keep track of that idea.
There's a lot of good well, really, it's a weird thing because when I write lyrics a lot, I sometimes will be writing and then I'll show Arrow the vocals for a song, and then she'll be like, this makes no sense, but it's really cool. And I'll be like, what do you mean? She's like, this is not a real word. Like, you just combined two separate words that don't you combined two separate words and made them a word. And I'm like, man, I could have sworn. And then, sometimes I'll write things a bit differently. But I've met a lot of creative people that are also dyslexic, so don't feel alone. But yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. So,
all right, well, we'll let you get on with your night. Thanks for spending time with us.
All right. Yeah, have a good one. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.